All right, everyone, today we're going to embark on one of the most thrilling and dramatic tales from Greek and Roman mythology, the adventure of Perseus. Are you ready? Let's get started. Once upon a time, the land of Greece was divided into many small kingdoms. Among them, our story today takes place in a kingdom called Argos. There was a king here named Perseus. This king had a grumpy look, was full of greed, and had quite a prickly personality. But this king had an interesting backstory. He was born a twin and fought with his brother even in their mother's womb, eventually driving his sibling out to claim the throne for himself. Now that he was king, he needed to solidify his power, right? Back then, the number one goal for kings was to produce an heir, specifically a son. But King Perseus had no sons, only a daughter named Danae. And let me tell you, this Danae was stunningly beautiful. From the king's perspective, he must have sighed endlessly, thinking, I need a son to carry on the dynasty. So the king went to a temple to ask the gods, O divine ones, will I ever have a son? Then came the oracle's prophecy, and its message was, don't even dream of it. You'll never have a son. But your daughter Danae will bear a son, and that grandson will grow up to kill you. What would you do, folks? Your grandson killing you, that's terrifying. But you wouldn't want to defy human decency. So maybe you'd think about beefing up your defenses, right? Well, this king's heart was a little different. No way. Absolutely not. Danae must never meet a man, he declared, and he locked her up in an underground prison. And not just any prison. It was made of bronze, as solid as a vault, with no windows and a tightly locked door. But even in such an extreme situation, the story doesn't just end there, does it? Up in the heavens, Zeus was watching all of this unfold. Zeus, the number one floor of mythology, saw Danae and thought, oh no, such a pretty girl locked up in a bronze prison? That won't do. I've got to comfort her. And with that, he activated his love radar. The problem was that the bronze prison was impenetrably solid. No doors, no windows, not even a gap big enough for an ant to crawl through. So how could he reach Danae? Zeus's specialty, of course, was transformation. Turn into a handsome man? Nope, he couldn't get in. An ant? That wouldn't work either. Then Zeus had a brilliant idea. I'll become golden rain. And so, on a rainy day, golden drops began to fall from the sky. Drip, drip, drip. Danae looked up, wondering, huh? What's this? Gold. As she watched, the golden rain seeped into bronze prison, and Zeus appeared. 10 months later, the sound of a baby crying echoed from the bronze chamber. Danae had given birth to a son, and that child was none other than today's hero, Perseus. King Perseus was shocked when he heard this. What? I locked her up. How did she have a baby? He rushed to open the door, and Danae explained, Father, it was Zeus. He came down as golden rain. The king thought, that's ridiculous. But since no human could breach the bronze prison, he half wondered if it might be true. The real problem? This baby was a grandson who'd kill him from the prophecy. The king fell into deep thought. If I kill him, he's Zeus's son, so I'll face divine wrath. But if I let him live, I'll die. What'd I do? Then he had a clever, or so he thought, idea. All right, Danae, you had a son with Zeus out of love, right? Then go find your husband. With that, he put Danae and Perseus in a wooden chest and set them adrift on the sea. The chest floated endlessly across the waves until it washed up on an island called Seriphos. A fisherman found it and opened it to reveal a beautiful woman and a newborn baby. Oh, poor things. Come live with me, he said, taking Danae and Perseus home. Turns out, this fisherman was Dictys, the brother of the king of Seriphos. Dictys was a kind man and cared for them like family. And so, the three began a happy life together. Time passed, and Perseus grew into a fine young man. But then rumors started to spread. Dictys is living with a gorgeous woman and her son. The king of Seriphos, Polydectes, heard this and went to check it out. When he opened the door and saw Danae, he fell head over heels. I've seen countless women, but none as beautiful as you. Marry me. Just then, the grown-up Perseus stepped in, a handsome, dependable young man. Danae politely declined, saying, Thank you, but I've been loved by Zeus, and my dream is to raise the sun well. Polydectes gritted his teeth, thinking, if that kid weren't around, I could make her mine. So the king hatched a plan. I'm marrying a princess from a neighboring land, he announced, throwing a feast and inviting Perseus too. In Greek tradition, you had to bring gifts to a wedding feast, and everyone brought horses or precious items. But Perseus, raised in a poor fisherman's home, came empty-handed. The king mocked him. What did the son of Zeus bring? Perseus snapped back. I may have nothing now, but I'll get you anything you want. Just leave my mother alone. With a sly grin, the king said, Fine, then bring me Medusa's head. Medusa, the terrifying monster with snakes for hair, whose gaze turns people to stone. Perseus hesitated for a moment, but couldn't back down. I'll do it, he declared, setting off on his quest. As Perseus stood there, feeling lost, help arrived from the heavens. His siblings, Hermes, son of Zeus, and Athena, daughter of Zeus, came down. Hermes gave him winged sandals, while Athena handed over a sharp sickle and a shiny shield. They even threw in Hades' invisibility helmet and a sack to hold Medusa's head. Our father told us to help you. Medusa lives at the edge of the world, and the ones who know her location are the three old hags. They said, Perseus went to find the strange beings who were born old and shared one eye and one tooth among them. He waited for the moment they swapped the eye, snatched it, and demanded, Where's Medusa? They finally caved. She's at the world's edge. Using the winged sandals, Perseus flew to the cave where Medusa and her two sisters slept. The catch? Looking at Medusa would turn him to stone. So he used Athena's shield like a mirror, seeing only her reflection as he approached, with the invisibility helmet hiding him. He sliced off Medusa's head in one swift strike. A winged horse, Pegasus, sprang from her severed neck, but Perseus stuffed the head in the sack and escaped safely. On his way back to Seriphos, Perseus spotted a woman tied to sea rock. She was alive. Who are you? He asked. I'm Andromeda, princess of Ethiopia, she replied. Her mother had boasted, I'm more beautiful than the sea nymphs, angering Poseidon, who sent a sea monster. An oracle had demanded, Sacrifice the princess. Right then, the sea monster appeared. Perseus told Andromeda, I'll be right back, and flew to her father, the king. If I slay the beast, will you give me your daughter? The king promised. Not just her, my crown too. Perseus battled the monster, pulled out Medusa's head, and turned it to stone. He saved Andromeda, and the two fell in love. During their wedding, Andromeda's ex-fiancée stormed in, but Perseus used Medusa's head to turn him and his cronies to stone, averting disaster. Back in Seriphos, he turned Polydectes to stone and rescued his mother, Danae. When Danae said, I want to clear up the misunderstanding with my father, Acrisius, Perseus took his family to Argos, but Acrisius had heard rumors and fled. Later, at a neighboring kingdom's athletic games, a discus thrown by Perseus struck and killed him, fulfilling the prophecy. Perseus gave up the crown and lived happily with his family in the small land of Tiryns, which later grew into the Mycenaean civilization. Perseus chose love over power. So, folks, where will you use your strength? The message, empty yourself to be filled, let go to rise, hits deep, doesn't it? I'll be back with more exciting myths next time.